So it's 5 o'clock. Let's get cracking. So welcome everybody. Welcome to episode 17 of Ask the VP. And this week we are joined by Mik from TheFourthFocus. How you doing, Mik?
Hi, good, thank you. You?
Yeah, all good, all good. It's nice and gloomy dark on a Saturday evening.
Indeed, it is.
The kids are taken care of, so it's nice and peace and quiet in my house
It's
today.
similar here. Well, they've not had the tea yet, so the status of that might change over the course of the hour. The dog's
Oh,
just
dear.
been out. She was soaking wet. She's now dry. That's fine.
God bless. Yeah, it's not really the best weather for walking dogs at the
No.
moment, is it? Definitely not. Definitely not. So what we'll do is we'll go through our TPM questions. We've had two special guest question people this week. So Shinobi and Ruben have contributed to the questions as well as the TPM team. I've mixed in the community questions from the reminder post we put out this week. And when we get to the end, anybody listening live can put in a request and speak to you and ask you a question live.
Good. Yeah. Look forward to it.
So I thought I'd go with a little left field question that came from the community because it made me giggle when I saw it come through. So it's a question from Mike saying, "Are you a fellow Michael? And if so, why did you decide to go for Mik without the C?"
Okay. Yes, I am a Michael. This is geek name Mike. I presume it's asking this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question. I actually like the question because there is a particular reason. So I've always shortened it. I mean, my mum still calls me Michael, sort of my grandparents, but I've always used Mik. And this goes back to the fact that I'm old enough to remember old school high score leaderboards where you only got 3 characters. So you
Yeah.
can't have MICK because that's 4. So originally I used to put MAB as my initials. But I thought, no, I want Mik on there. And MIC is microphone. And hence MIK. That's literally where it came from. And I've just that's from being young, and it was just kind of stuck.
It's cool though. It's a different way of spelling it, isn't it?
I've seen
Stands
it
out.
occasionally. I think, I mean, some say European names like they're like Michael, the European version of it, Mikhail or whatever. Some people use it from that because it is MIK in their spelling anyway, but mine is just a made up one. But yeah, it's all about games. It's all about high score boards.
It's a good made up one. We like it. We like it. So let's crack on with the serious questions then. Now we know that one. So where to start? So virtual and in real life photographer, blogger, photo mode reviewer, podcaster, editor, writer, and VP award creator. So I've got to take a breath after all that. You've been a very busy man and have experienced and achieved a lot in your journey so far. So let's start with your VP. How and when did you discover virtual photography?
Okay, I guess. I mean, if you to go really right back to the first time I discovered it, the first time I discovered it was when I didn't even know what it was, as often the case. But I'd even forgotten about it. But Gran Turismo, I grew up as a racing game fan, and Gran Turismo is such a massive series for me. GT4 had what was it called? Photo Travel back in the day, and it's essentially the forerunner to Scapes now. And I remember, now that I look back at it, I do vividly remember seeing it and using it briefly, but I didn't really do anything with it because it's on a PS2. I don't even know to this day how would you get the images off. I actually don't know that. But I remember just thinking, cool. You've got these cars in your garage and you can position them in all these scenes and have a look at them. But nothing ever twigged further than that. Then I guess fast forward onto PS3 generation. I remember Wipeout HD had a photo mode, a very early one. And I can remember in that just sort of admiring it, really, like being sat on the start line and orbiting around the craft and looking at the actual thrusters and stuff, and even on the track, the details on the track, you could see the sort of brushed aluminium textures and things. nowadays it'll look pretty poor, but back then PS3 was really that era where you were really soaking up the visuals, you know. So that was my first introduction, but I still never did anything with it. And it wasn't really until PS4, obviously, because then you've got the share button. So I used the one in Infamous. I actually played First Light before I played Infamous 2, whichever Infamous it's for.
Such good games, really good games.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I shared one picture from it, and then I did a little bit in No Man's Sky without a photo mode, just, you know, doing no HUD type shots. And I think it was probably Horizon Zero Dawn, which I actually started sharing stuff regularly from. But other games had introduced the idea to me a lot earlier, but I just never had a reason to do anything with it, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's the thing. I mean, you say about Wipeout and the texture stuff. Obviously, at that time, it was cutting edge, wasn't it, for PS3? It was literally looked amazing. When you look back at anything now, it all looks a bit ropey, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. But at the time, you know, when it's the latest, newest thing, then it's a marvel. I always remember in Uncharted, the original Uncharted, I spent ages like just obsessing over the fact that you could walk into water and his pants got wet up to the point that, and then you could come out and watch them dry. I was like, wow, you know.
We take things like that for granted now, don't we? When we get all the, you know, let's take the new Spider-Man, for instance, or anything like that. You look at it and you take all that stuff for granted. But that used to be really big wow factors with simple things like that in previous generations.
It did, yeah. And I think it's moved on in some ways, because then you would just sit and admire it. But now you can actually go and capture it. So the fact that we do still appreciate all of the levels of detail that are in there, but we're using them now rather than just sitting and going, nice.
Definitely. I have to go back and take some shots of Nate getting wet in a puddle now.
Yeah, just up to the knees.
That sounded a lot better in my head than how it came across when I said it. So you've openly said in your article, A Road to Virtual Photography, back in 2019, that you don't consider yourself to be a very creative person. But obviously, given what you've achieved in the past 4 years, and obviously the list of things we went through above of what you do you feel differently now? Do you feel more creative now?
I think it partly comes down to the way I sort of define creative, I suppose. When I'm saying that, what I really mean is that I struggle to just out of nothing to produce anything artistic or anything not very spontaneous, that's for sure. Definitely more of a methodical approach. And I totally accept that if you were to list all of the things that I've done, then you have to say this is creativity. It surely is. But I think I'd still stand by that, because I think I'm more about the process than I am just being able to create out of nothing. I feel like I have to have understood it first. And that's always my approach to things. Even with a new photo mode, the first thing I'll do is look through all the settings and work out what they can do. I don't work on a picture first. I see what those settings can do, and then I know what I'm working with. Once I understand how something works, then I can produce something from it. I get it.
And that's something that's very clear that comes across in your reviews as well, how they're laid out.
Yeah, well, I'm an analytical mind, so you know, I work in research. I used to be a QC analyst. I did forensic science as my degree, you know, so that's the level of the detail of things that I look at, you know. So I would you say that's a creative approach? I guess you have to, but I just don't feel like I am naturally creative. If that, maybe that's the better way to put it.
Yeah. I suppose obviously if you understand the tools you've got on offer and what you can use with those, what you can create with those tools, you're creating. But is it more that artistic eye where you can just see something and capture it in that true creative form, like straight away?
I've got the eye. I don't doubt that, actually, and that comes from just some sort of obsession with images. You know, I know the image when I see it. But if you were to just go, give me an idea of what to shoot now, I probably wouldn't give you one.
Mm.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd just go and see what comes up when I start using things. But I know it when I see it, and I can very quickly achieve that. So I
Yeah.
guess I do. I guess I've got the creative eye, but I don't feel naturally spontaneously creative. That's kind of where.
Yeah. Cool. No, that's all good. It's all good. And obviously, you say your obsession with images, and well, you've been a keen photographer for 15 plus years, haven't you? So, do the skills that you implement in your real life photography transpose over to your virtual photography and vice versa?
100%, definitely. I mean, at the end of the day, both virtual or real life photography, the objective is the same. It's about a desire to create interesting, compelling, engaging images.
Mm.
And that is really all about how you use your subjects, how you work with light and composition. Now, that's kind of the language of the image. So whether you're using a handheld camera or a controller through a screen, the actual route to that end result is basically the same. Um,
Yeah.
the other side of it, I guess, is that if you understand aperture is probably the easiest example. I understand what aperture is. I understand physically what it is. I understand the effect it has on an image. So when I see that in a photo mode, it's very easy. It's very natural for me to make use of it. But I get that
Yeah.
if you've never used a camera and you see these sort of functions, I mean, aperture isn't a descriptive function, is it? It doesn't.
Not at all.
So it certainly helps there. It, in some ways, it can be a little bit of a frustration as well, because then you come across, say, Spider-Man. Their implementation of aperture is totally unrealistic, and that can
Mm.
be irritating, because you look at it and think, all right, I understand what it's doing in the photo mode, but it's not authentic. You can work with it to make it look authentic, but it's not the right kind of behavior. It's not how light behaves. So,
No, and the fact that they give you the far aperture and the near aperture is not how I know
yeah,
you touched on this in your podcast. That's not how your eyes work. That's not
no,
how
exactly.
it works, is it, when you're focusing on
Yeah,
stuff? So it's quite, as much as it's easy to pick up in a photo mode, it isn't if you're an actual photographer. It's probably sometimes takes getting your head around it because you're so used to how you normally work with
yeah,
aperture.
it can be contradictory sometimes when you just think, or like a lot of things get the terminology wrong. The stuff that I try and be very clear on terminology, because if you're writing it, you've got to be consistent. So I'm
Mm.
very matter of fact that tilt and pan and tilt is what your head does, looking side to side and looking up and down. Tilt is not rolling the camera. That's literally called roll. But everybody thinks it's called
Yeah,
tilt because of Dutch tilt, for example. And
yeah,
it's always called different things in different photo mods, and that can be a bit frustrating when you think, I want you to stick to the established, terminologies. But ultimately, so what? Like, people deal with it, don't they?
yeah. And I suppose for people who have been real life photographers, going into virtual photography is obviously it's obviously very similar. It's the same idea. I suppose virtual photography itself is encouraging people to try out in real life photography as well,
Absolutely.
in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I've spoken to people who have gone about it that way, definitely. Um, and I mean, think about a few years ago when virtual photography was really popular. It was during lockdown, and that was a
Mm.
perfect opportunity for it, because you couldn't go out around normal spaces with a camera, but you could still sort of practice, scratch that itch, if you will, and even practice the techniques in a virtual world. So you're still able to go and capture the images. And if you think about to before what I said about composition, in reality, you've not always got the luxury to get your composition exactly right, because things are live, things are moving around. So you do the best you can. In a photo mode, you've got that luxury of time being frozen. And that lets you explore all the different compositions and different styles. And if you do it often enough, you will get quicker and quicker at it. So then when you do go out in the real world, you're much swifter at like getting the composition exactly right, because you know what you're looking for.
Exactly. exactly. So what do you prefer capturing, in real life photography or virtual photography, and why?
Prefer. I would say I capture more virtual photographs than real ones nowadays. Um, I think if I'm honest, I prefer real life. I've got more of a real connection to the images, generally because most of my photography is either around something special like kids and puppy, etc., or it's when I'm somewhere new. So you've got more of the experience of being in another country, that kind of thing. So I think for that reason, I hold my real life pictures more dearly than I do my virtual pictures. However, there's no denying the kind of opportunities and experiences that have happened because of virtual, which have
Yeah.
never got anywhere near with real photography. So
That's a good point. That's a good point. And you've obviously been doing photography for a long time. So do you start off with film,
I never shot film
dark
actually.
room? No.
So I tell a lie. I shot film while learning. Um,
Hmm.
so I mean, we shot film at university. I don't know if anybody knows already, but I started off learning crime scene photography. So I said
Hmm.
I did forensic science degree. Crime scene photography
Yeah.
was kind of my first introduction to any type of photography. Bear in mind,
Yeah.
this is pre-smartphones, pre-digital cameras, really. Anyway, um, and yeah, we learned a lot of techniques then. So macro, obviously, because you're photographing fingerprints, um,
Mhm.
photographing road traffic accidents, so stuff in the dark, and it's like open shutter with multiple flashes, that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
personally, I've never owned a film camera other than like disposables and crappy little compacts that you
Yeah.
take on holiday. But my first actual cameras that I'd bought, they've all been digital. Um, my first one was a
Film.
Sony A7. No, it's got a DSC T7. It was, but it was a little compact, but it was really great for macro, and that was what sort
Mm.
of got me hooked. Is the getting it close in the details, and you could focus on things at less than a centimeter away. So I'm there sticking it in the face of spiders and stuff like that.
I mean, film development was a pain in the ass. I'd done that at college. I'd done a graphic design and photography course, which obviously went horribly wrong because I'm not doing graphic design or
Oh,
photography. But um, we done developing in the dark room and bits and pieces, and thank God for digital. That's all I can say. There's obviously going to be people who think the other way around, but yeah, digital makes it so
I
much
think there
easier.
used to be a lot of that. I mean, digital was derided at the time. This is an argument I used to give about, when people are trying to undermine virtual photography. Usually it's because they don't understand what goes into it. But
Mm.
also, it's that the fact that something's new and slightly different, it's not trying to replace real world photography, it's complementary to it. But digital photography was very much derided as being not real. Of course, it's real. It's
Yeah,
just a different method of capturing the light, or it's cheating. It isn't. It,
people don't like change today. That's the thing.
yeah, they don't like change. That's right. But ultimately, you look at it, and the results speak for themselves. Digital photography has enabled the artistic medium of photography to become much, much greater than it ever used to be. The the resolution of shots, the type of things that you can capture that you would have missed before, and it opens up
Yeah.
more. So I love digital photography over film. Yeah.
I'd need to get back to it. I dabbled about it. I bought a Canon EOS 1200. I mean, it's only entry level, nothing major. But I used to love going out, snapping shots of buzzards flying
Mm.
around and bits and pieces. But kids obviously reduce the time you can go around wandering in fields and stuff, looking for stuff to take pictures of. So
Yeah.
maybe when they're growing up a bit more, I'll get back to it. But there is something about in real life photography that does, I don't know, just getting out there and doing it in the moment, like you said, an experience.
It,
So yeah, definitely agree with that.
I agree. When I always think while you're out there, it's always enjoyable, and I don't mind how much I get out of it in terms of images. In fact, I would always say if I come back with one image that I'm happy with, it was worth taking the camera. It was worth going wherever I went. The difficult bit is, like you say, is actually getting out, just making the time to go and do it, which is where virtual is so much more convenient, because you can just literally press a button and off you go.
Exactly. My phone always used to be full of pictures of the kids, the dog, going out places, and now it's literally just full of video games.
Yeah.
That's all it's full of video games. I try and find a picture of the kids to show a family member. It's like, oh, hang on, I've just got to go back about 5 weeks.
Yeah, scrolling through
It's
all
all
the
virtual. Yeah. Oh dear. So, at what point did you come up with the idea of the fourth focus? And for the uninitiated, can you explain a little bit about what it is and the service it provides? And Ducky has also asked how you came up with the name the fourth focus.
So I had the kind of idea quite early on, that I wanted to make some sort of branded portfolio. It was just a portfolio really at the start. So I think I sent you the dates. Was it 2017? I think I started it.
Yeah, 2017.
So yeah, it's 6 years now since I made the first iteration. As for the name, we'll do the name first then. I definitely didn't want it to be just a personal profile that was just about me. I could kind of, from an early stage, I saw the potential in this as a new and interesting art form, and I thought I want to be part of that as a authority on it in some way, if that makes sense. But that was like future. That was like a little spark of interest that I thought, yeah, somewhere down the line. So initially, I just wanted to make a portfolio site to show the work I was creating at the time. I deliberately didn't want it to be just my name or even my face. That was my conscious decision that it was not going to be just about me. So I thought, right, we need a sort of brand name. It's a few different elements. I mean, focus in it was just I wanted some kind of cliched photography reference, so that bit fairly straightforward. And then the other bit, one, I was shooting stuff on PS4 primarily at the time, so I thought it kind of fits to have 4 in there, so fourth focus. And then I always loved the old PS2 adverts from David Lynch called The Third Place. Don't know if you remember them.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah,
and they were so quirky and weird, and I just thought I like that obscureness of it. That just The Third Place. It was just weird, and I thought I can kind of combine those. And as I started thinking about it, then it dawned on me as actually, if I do go with fourth, this is like the fourth wall. That was the final sort of piece that I was like, yes, this makes sense. So the fourth wall, as you know, is like things breaking out like on a theater that actually speak to the audience. It's that invisible wall.
Yeah.
And I thought virtual photography is a kind of way that video games are breaking the fourth wall, because you're used to seeing it on the screen, and all of a sudden you're taking those captures and bringing them out and into the real world, onto the devices, onto prints, whatever. So I thought, in a kind of, theorized way, it's as though it's breaking the fourth wall. So that was it, really. And it just sort of settled on that. I think I had some other ideas, like something in Latin, like ludum captura, which is like game capture in Latin, but, a bit too academic, isn't it?
And why the no spaces?
That took me a while to settle on, actually. But I just thought it made it more of a stylized brand as an individual thing, a combined thing, rather than it being bits of a sentence. I always think it looks like it's just words if it's got spaces.
Yeah, no, it looks cool. And now that you've explained how the name came about, the name means more when I look at it.
Yeah.
So all of that completely makes sense.
Good. Hopefully you remember it. But as for what it does, the other part of the question was, so it did just start off as a portfolio. And then I think it was a few years, actually, at least 2 years until I moved onto using Wix. And that had one of the things I wanted was to start a blog, because I knew this was something I could write about. So, I write in scientific circles quite often, and I thought I can definitely cover this kind of stuff. So I wanted to set up a blog and just start doing that. I had the idea of doing reviews in mind right from the start. I thought it's kind of what I can imagine is somewhere half between a game review and a camera review. So it's a review of the game's camera for a photographer's perspective, but with enough content in there that still keeps it relevant to gamers as well. So that was it, really. And from then, it's just expanded into different ideas as to what I can write about. Contests and things like that have just grown naturally over the course of it. So I would just say now, what is it? It's just a resource for if you want to be involved and learn more about virtual photography. It provides hopefully something for you and to help you learn and get better.
Sums it up perfectly. Sums it up perfectly. And I think we've talked about with several people on these interviews about the learning part of it, and we touched on it just now about people from virtual photography who maybe don't have that photography background. How you step through your photo mode reviews and that kind of thing. It is a really good learning process because the more you let's take the video you done on the Spider-Man light system.
Yeah.
If you haven't researched light or you don't know about light as part of in real life photography, that's really useful. As soon as you start looking at those, when you look at your video or other bits and pieces on how to look at light and how to work with it, that's great. And that learning piece, I think a lot of people not benefit in a bad way, as in they need to benefit from it. But like you said, it's a resource. If you want to learn more and want to further your game with virtual photography, that's what you need. That informative approach and to help you learn more things about it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I do it. I always think that the best way to improve is first to understand. If you don't understand the way
Definitely.
things work, you will never get the best out of them. So everything I write or now produce on YouTube as well, hopefully is aimed at helping people to understand it better.
Definitely. And that's definitely how it comes across. And it is very easy to understand from what I've seen of it, and especially some of the later videos. And we'll touch on that now. So you've obviously recently launched on YouTube and putting together video content. And as we just said, it's always informative, but it also looks very professional and slick looking. Do you have a back? Have you had a background in video editing? Have you self-taught yourself, or are you just good at everything?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I wouldn't. Okay, I might not say just naturally good at everything, but I do have standards that I expect from myself. So I always aim to maintain the standards that I am happy with. Otherwise, I don't do it. So you won't see me do something. Or at least I hope you won't see me do something that's bad purely because I would have already decided not to. No, I don't have any background in video editing, same as I didn't have any proper background in photography or image editing or anything. I learn by doing. I've done a little bits because I used to previously make short clips that went into the reviews and things. So that starts to help you get your head around how an editing software works. Doing the podcast has been helpful as well because obviously we edit a quick edit on putting all the sounds and the cameras together for that, and then doing the trailers. So everything like that does help. When it came to YouTube, I was really, really reluctant for a long time. One, because I knew it was going to be a massive time demand, and two, I didn't want to do something that I wouldn't be happy with. So I trialed a couple of different styles beforehand, and I was just like, nah, this isn't for me, And then I was like, I'll only do it if I commit. So I forced myself so that I had the channel up and running before Spider-Man came out. So I thought Everspace was the game I was reviewing at the time, and I thought this is quite a simple photo, but it's a good one to start with. And I did the Everspace review and watched it back, and I just thought, yeah, actually that's kind of what I wanted, and that established my style for the channel. Then
perfect. I still haven't got around to playing that game yet.
I really like it, actually. It's better than the first one. I love the first one, but the fact that it was a roguelike always turned me off after a while because you get so far and die because of something unexpected and totally reset. You're like, whatever.
Yeah.
But they've got rid of that now. It's more of a an RPG exploration game. So it is good.
Oh, I might have to give it a little go. Give it a little go. So your virtual photography guides and your in-depth photo mode analysis and reviews have led you to have some opportunities to collaborate with Guerrilla Games, Santa Monica Studios, Sony XDev, Manifold Garden, Red Bull Gaming, PS Blog, and Epic Games, to name a few. Um, can you tell us a little bit how about some of these opportunities came about? Did you reach out to them? Were you contacted after they'd seen obviously your work with the Fourth
Hmm.
Focus? How does that sort of come about, those opportunities?
Um, different ways actually. They were all necessarily through the same route. The first ones you mentioned, like the studio, sort of Guerrilla, Santa Monica, XDev, they were really through contests, which is something I've evolved away from now in favor of the awards. I don't run individual contests anymore per game, and that was all about me reaching out to them and just trying to persuade them to lend support, which
Yeah,
they were fantastic with, providing prizes, judges, etc. Others refused, there's been others that we tried and it's either you get no response or some just said no. Um, One that never came about was Spider-Man, and that was because of the complications with having to get Marvel on board. So it wasn't just about getting the studio; you had to get Marvel on board. So that didn't happen. But some of the others, I mean, one of the things I didn't mention before, but the website is something I wanted it to be more permanent than the social media content, and
yeah,
that has definitely been, come to fruition, if you will, with these kind of opportunities because it's more discoverable for a longer time. People can go and look for it and they might come across an old article. They're very unlikely to come across an old tweet, no matter how many likes or retweets it got back in the day. So, yeah, some of those things have been via the website. So, the written stuff, absolutely that. I did some writing for Red Bull. We've got the piece on the PlayStation blog, and the current one I'm working with Epic Games. That's all entirely because of the blog. They've discovered it through that and thought, yeah, this is the kind of writer that we're looking for.
and that's where when you mention about you have a certain standard you'd like to achieve, that's where that pays off, isn't it?
Absolutely,
You,
I 100%. I always maintain that if you concentrate on quality, it will take care of itself. If you put out bad work, it can look bad at any time. But if you've always put out quality, even if nobody's reading it originally, once upon a time, one day down the line, someone will look back at it. And if it's all good, you've got a really strong foundation to build more on.
yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
the man.
And I think that kind of carries over to your posting on, from what I've seen on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it nowadays, is some people spam the socials, posting things all the time, bits and pieces. But again, harking back to where you say about you're quite methodical, your posting seems that way as well, is you don't oversaturate your account with loads of posting. I'm trying to figure out what point I'm trying to make. You're probably getting the kind of point I'm
I know
making,
where you
but
were going.
you
Yeah,
don't, yeah.
it's
So,
I wouldn't claim too much credit on that my social posts are that well thought out. A lot of the time it's just because I don't spend that much time on the platform, but I try to maintain a presence. So there's definitely periods where I just think, oh, I just maintain putting at least one post a day out. But I no, I don't spam it and I don't post anything that I'm not happy with. Same goes on my real camera. If I take a shot, I usually delete on the camera straight away. I don't even hold on to stuff. If I think it's below par, it's gone. You know.
yeah,
Um, so in the photo mode, I've got that time and luxury. So I only capture it if I think it's good enough. So that means I'm happy to share it. Um, so yeah, I share to a standard that I'm happy with. I mean, it doesn't mean everybody likes it by any stretch. That's perfectly acceptable. I expect to have different opinions. But yeah, I don't do volume. I'm not that big on the interactions, to be honest.
no, I find it hard to keep up with it, if I'm completely honest. I, it's so nice to get comments on your pictures and things, which I absolutely love. And I just when I'm replying to comments, I can't figure out what to say. I just end up saying, "Cheers, dude. Thanks." And it all becomes. It might sound like it's coming across really robotic, but as much as I do these, and I can, I like enjoy talking to people like we are now. I'm not big on like social engagement on platforms and things. I don't know. I'm just not that good at
Yeah.
it. But
I'm the
yeah,
same. I will make time to reply, or at least I've tried to, unless something gets really a lot of replies, it gets out of hand, which is rare.
mm,
But anyone who replies to a picture, I will respond because I appreciate the fact that they took the time to say something about it. I love to hear that. Same on YouTube. I reply to every comment. What I don't do is go out and comment on other people's work very often. So
no, I'm the same. It's it's common courtesy and to show that appreciation to reply, even if sometimes it is 4 or 5 days later. But yeah, I don't. I like a lot of
yeah.
pictures, but yeah, don't comment a lot. So we touched on obviously the collaborations with the studios, but I purposely didn't mention the next one because I wanted to talk to you about it a little bit more. So you've partnered with London Games Week to bring virtual photography to a public gallery of
Mm.
sorts in London's Trafalgar Square. This is really big for virtual photography to have an actual physical kind of gallery of the work in such a well-established landmark location. How did this partnership come about, and what kind of work goes into bringing that from concept to fruition?
So we've done it twice now. The first one came about because I was looking for some partners for the awards, and I had found because their website had already listed that they were going to have this virtual photography challenge and absolutely no details on it whatsoever, but they'd put a single line in there what's coming next year type thing. So I thought, I'll just reach out to them and see A, what that's all about, and B, whether they'd be interested in getting involved supporting the awards. I then got a reply back saying, "Oh, really glad you've got in touch because we've been meaning to reach out to you." I thought, oh, perfect, and that was about supporting them for this virtual photography challenge they had planned. Now
Mm,
that space in Trafalgar they have every year. Well, I mean, it's been interrupted when there was none because of COVID, but
yeah.
they've had it before and they've continued to have it since they've started the live events again. And it's usually got multiple things on display. So they've got their ensemble thing, which highlights, game creators through minority game creators, basically. And then they've got all these different little displays that they put on, and one of which the first year was virtual photography. So we kind of came to an agreement that they wanted to run a live event and to get people engaging, but they also needed some stuff to display in the meantime. And I thought, oh, that's okay. We can put the finalists from the awards on. That's your
Mm,
curated set. That draws in attention from the public and on socials. And we tie into that this contest. Now, the sponsor of the contest was NVIDIA. And
mm,
not overly to my liking, they kind of demanded quite extensive control and everything got branded with NVIDIA. And all of the
mm,
awards pictures went up. Still appreciative of that, I'm not questioning that for a second. But right over them, next to them, all over the place was, shot with NVIDIA. And I was like, that's not true. They're taking credit for these images, which they have nothing to do with. So that was a downside to it, from my perspective, at least. In terms of
yeah.
the art being on display, people didn't really think twice of it. So it was still a great chance to have it out there. The following year, because of that, I was a little reluctant to put the awards stuff in it again because I didn't want it being rebranded. But they didn't get anything going with NVIDIA, and it was a very short notice, just like, oh, we want to do the challenge again. Can we do it with you? And I was like, yeah. When? Well, we're thinking it needs to be done by next week. So that means you have to have, this is on a Thursday night. That means you have to have
Yeah.
it at the printers by Monday. Like,
Well,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm like, okay, it's going to be over the weekend, but that's it. So we just did a very rushed thing. But in a way, that worked because it's such a short notice thing. Everybody participates. It generates a lot of buzz.
Mm,
So we just did it quickly on socials, and then it all went off to the team at London Games to quickly choose their winners for that, to curate a set, and to get them off to the printers so they could have it on show in time. So
Yeah, and it looked absolutely amazing.
it's fantastic to
It really
have,
looked
and
amazing.
it's really, really good just to be there and to see people engaging with it. It gives the art so much more presence, not because of just the physicality, but because of the size of them as well. You know, you can really stand and admire them.
Yeah, and they planning on doing it. Is it? I can't remember what time of year. Is it
It's
January
usually in
time?
April.
April, not January. Then no,
No, a bit
April.
later. Hopefully they'll do it again, but as yet nothing's confirmed. So it's not that I can't say; it's that I don't know. You know.
Yeah. Well, let's wait and see. I'll have to come up this time.
Yeah.
I couldn't come up last time, but I wanted to come up and have a look. 'Cause I know Jack came up and had a look.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it'd be good to come up and have a look.
Yeah, I think if we get a bit more notice as well, it'd be nice to kind of arrange a bit of a meetup, get as many people as you can down.
Definitely. Let's all go and get drunk and look at pictures that we take on video game. Brilliant, love it. So you've recently celebrated the anniversary of yours and Ruben's podcast, Photomode Unplugged. What drew you to create a virtual photography-based podcast, and what led you to partnering up with Ruben in particular?
I don't know now.
Yeah. After a year, it's like, why did I do this?
I don't know. We sort of, I'd worked with Ruben before on the God of War contests, and I'd appeared on his or Snap channel on his YouTube. And you know, we felt that they went quite well in terms of the natural engagement between us and things. So I just felt like there was a bit of a space for that sort of content. Ruben was a sort of natural choice because of the stuff we'd done previously. I also maybe somewhat naively now thought that you would get a good translation from his social media numbers and following onto the podcast. That really doesn't happen. I don't think. Twitter X is so bad at sending people to external stuff that whenever you post to YouTube, you probably experience the same yourselves with this, but the links here just don't get the same click through that you would expect from the number of followers you've got. So yeah, that unfortunately hasn't paid off that well. That neither of us are able to generate that much following to it. But you know, we're not focusing on that. We're just trying to enjoy creating the content. We did it every week for the first year, and we've sort of eased off a little now, and just going to do it as and when there's something important to talk about, rather than trying to force it. You know.
Yeah, because I mean, people probably don't realise behind the scenes how much work goes into putting it together. It's probably not. It's not like a 5-minute thing where you sit down, have a chat. There you go, you're done. Smashed it out. Let's post it.
No, it does take up a fair bit of time, and especially when you've got so much else on, you're thinking, right, this is costing me a couple of nights' work or something. Because you know you've got to record it, you've got to do the main edit, you've got to cover, create a teaser trailer. We do shorts as well, and then the thumbnails. It just all adds up time that you could have done other things. So I'm not saying it's not worth doing. Just that, like you say, it does take more time than you initially anticipate.
It does, and you know, behind all of this is real life, isn't it? You know, when you're a parent, you can't always afford all that time to do other stuff.
And ultimately something has to be sacrificed. So I would like to not have to go to work, which admittedly is pretty flexible, but you know, you don't want to make the family the ones who are sacrificed all the time. So.
Oh, definitely not. And no, I get you about the kind of numbers thing. And I know it's never about the numbers, but you do kind of, it is frustrating when, like, say with TPM, I think we just breached 8,000 followers.
Yes.
And we normally get 100, 200 people listening to this, which is absolutely brilliant. You know, in my eyes, that's absolutely brilliant. When you look at the ratio of the amount of people listening against your followers, and we post reminders every couple of days, and it's on YouTube and now on Spotify. It's just hard to translate that traction over, isn't it? Like you said,
it is. But yeah, because obviously, whatever you create, whatever it is, you just want it to be seen or heard in this case, don't you? You want people to know about it.
Exactly. And, we do this because we love it, don't we? At the end of the day, the numbers, it's frustrating about the numbers, but we just do it because we love it, don't we, really? We enjoy
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Otherwise, you'd give up a long time ago, I think.
Exactly, exactly. So we normally ask people about any competition wins they've had and bits and pieces, but you've mainly been involved in running or hosting them instead. And the main one I'm talking about is obviously the prestigious VP Awards,
Mm.
which I believe are coming up to their third year. Is it third year
This
this
will be
year?
the fourth.
Fourth
Mm.
year. So my research was rubbish. Fourth year, not third year. So tell us why you created awards and how do you go? I mean, you land some really awesome judges. How did you come up with the idea of creating them? And again, how do you get some of those judges involved in doing it? Really?
As to why it started it, so because I'd been running contests with studios, I thought this was kind of a natural evolution of that, rather than one-off contests all the time that were sporadic and different times. I just thought, you know what, someone should do an annual sort of ceremonial thing for this. And the year I started it, and I came up with the idea like in late November, and just thought, yeah, this is a good thing to do. End of the year's awards season. So I thought, yeah, an awards thing could work. Um, and it's something to think about for next year. um,
Yeah.
and then I remember at the time, so Alex, who you used to have on TPM, was like, why don't you try using Blender? It's free, it's nice and easy to pick up. And I thought, I don't have time to learn something new. But
Mm,
just that spark of interest made me go and do it. And within a week or so, I'd put together something. I thought, you know what, that could work. And then I just
mm,
thought, let's do it. Like, Sam, my partner, was like, you don't want to miss out. If someone else does it before you, how annoyed will you be? It's like, yeah, good point. So I just committed and pulled it all together within the space of a couple of weeks, really. So the first year, the inaugural one, didn't have anywhere near as many judges as they do now. Um,
mm,
but getting those, everyone who's contributed to it, I'm always incredibly grateful for, because I'm always asking for volunteers. And I try to balance. I always wanted some real life photographers, some virtual experience, and some people from the game industry. So
mm,
approaching those is mostly done directly myself. In the past years, I've had the PlayStation judges have been arranged via PlayStation UK, so they've been really helpful and willing to support, and they've gone and reached out and said, "Here, we can have these judges."
mm,
But this year has been more direct. And yeah, it is really just a matter of getting through to the right person. Not everybody agrees. Some respond and against, like with the contest, say, no, we can't do it. But it's fantastic just to see how many studios and publishers are like, yeah, this sounds great. We'd love to support it. So it's just like, now I've got stats to back it up. I can show them how many entries we get in year on year and that it's grown every year. So that helps
mm.
to make a case. And it's just a matter of putting a proposal forward and saying, this is what I'm trying to do. I'd love to have you involved. I'd love to have someone with XYZ experience. What you got? And they come and say, yeah. And it's quite humbling, actually.
No, definitely, it should be because obviously, again, harking back to the website and the standard and things like that, all of that all pays off in these ways, doesn't it? If they looked at it and was like, "Oh, that looks a bit,
Indeed.
bit ropey," then they wouldn't. But it's that high standard
Yeah.
definitely pays off.
I hope so. Yeah. And the permanence again. So, like, if you didn't have the website, it becomes harder to actually showcase what you've done in the past. And you
Yeah,
can say, here's the landing page, here's the galleries of all the previous ones, and that strengthens it.
yeah. And I suppose, where do you find most of your contacts then? Do you operate through LinkedIn or external things? So obviously, a lot of people try to do it on a lower scale on socials, which isn't always easy because you can't message people, you don't know
Mm-hmm.
who to contact, all that kind of thing. But I think LinkedIn um, is probably an avenue that a lot of people use because it's more of a professional nature,
It
isn't it?
is, yeah. I try everything, to be honest, because you can't guarantee that there is no one method that will work. You have to try some routes through socials. You have to use the press portals to get PR agent contacts. So
Yeah,
through the reviews, I've been fortunate to get into several of the press portals for PlayStation, Bethesda, EA, this kind of thing. And once you're in those, you get certain PR contacts. Again, it's just reaching out to them and seeing if they can put you in touch with someone else. Sometimes it's a dead end, and you might think, sod it, I'll try directly. Then you get told off for doing that. Sometimes, but it's always about getting through to the right person. No matter what it's about,
yeah,
you have to get through to the right person who can do something for you.
definitely, definitely. So moving on then. So by day, and we've touched on this already. By day, you are a research scientist in nuclear engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, you said you're not a spontaneous guy. And we've touched on this a little bit already. So does that, and we know you're methodical with looking at the settings and you've got quite a methodical nature. Um, but are you still spontaneous when you're taking your shots? As much as you want to see what tools you have, and that's the methodical part of it. When it comes to capturing the images, are you spontaneous?
um, I think maybe to an extent in terms of seeing an opportunity. The way I
Mm,
then finesse and create that shot will still be methodical, yeah. So yeah, nuclear engineering is not something you can be spontaneous in.
no. Oh, I'm just going to mix this with this and see what happens.
So, but at the same respect, as a researcher, you have to try new ideas. So you've got to
Yeah,
be ready to go in directions that may or may not work. But yeah, I would say my spontaneity, if anything, is spotting the potential. But
yeah,
working on the shot is very much methods. Yeah.
yeah. So does your work within a lab help or benefit your VP activities?
Does it? No.
No.
It's so far removed. I mean, I, I occasionally do get the opportunity to do imaging anyway, so I might use, I love being on this scan electron microscope. I love having images of the work I'm doing and actual physical evidence of it rather than just data. Um,
Yeah.
but honestly, I would say my day job is a hindrance, just purely because of that difficulty of changing mindset. Like,
Yeah.
I've got to think in such a different way coming from one thing to the other. And when you're trying to spend more time, as this grows, you want to spend more and more time on it, but you constantly have to switch off and go back to the other thing.
Yeah.
And that's difficult, actually.
Difficult. Do you sometimes sit down to take some pictures on a video game and realize you've still got your lab coat on?
Well, no, because I can't bring anything out of the lab because it's a radioactive lab
Oh,
anyway. So everything's left in there and I have to be scanned and monitored before I leave the lab. So nothing comes home.
yeah. Definitely don't take that home then. Definitely don't take that home. So you've reviewed and analysed a lot of photo modes. Which PM would you say is your favourite, even if it isn't necessarily the best?
I kind of hate this question because it, I don't really know. It always depends on what it's for at the time, I suppose. I don't
Mm,
often get time to go back to them is another problem. So because I'm reviewing them, you're always having to move on to the next one. There's been so many photo modes that I've enjoyed using, but my time with it has been cut short because something else came out. Um, and you have to put that down and then go do the next thing because you've been given a copy and you've got to deliver something on it. Of the
mm,
stuff I have spent time with, I mean, my biggest collection of shots is from God of War 2018. But as a photo mode, it's not that good. And when Ragnarok came out, it was the same. And as time's moved on, you see how limited it is. But it allowed me to get up close to the details, and that really took me back to my origins in photography. So I did enjoy that.
mm.
Um, I like Ghost of Tsushima's as well. I just like the UI for that. It's a thoroughly enjoyable combination of the game, the world, the photo mode, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I find some of the games you would expect to have photo modes, which have really simple photo modes. sometimes I get a lot more enjoyment out of those, not having all of the plethora of tools to play
Yeah.
with. I can't. I mean, Final Fantasy 16 didn't have a brilliant photo mode. But I really enjoyed capturing that game. I think sometimes it's about the source material as well, isn't
Oh
it?
yeah, it's got to
As well
inspire.
as the photo.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. So as a VP, and I know you said you go and look at what all the settings are and what you can use to create your VP. What's your first go-to setting? What's the first thing you look at or you start to change when you go into photo mode?
Usually the focal length / field of view, whatever it's branded as in that particular photo mode. You as you with a real camera, you grow through different styles that you want to achieve, and you learn whether you prefer long lenses or short lenses. And I prefer that more. As a portrait photographer, you would use a 50 mm. Typically, that's the usual thing. But then the 85 is that slightly nicer. You get more compressed. You get more background blur. More shallow depth of field.
Mm.
So I go straight towards that kind of range, just to give me that bit more, like I said, remove the clutter. I don't really go for the wide angle.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
Stretch and everything like that. So I tend to lengthen the focal length. And I aim for something with a cinematic style. So again, that helps there. The next thing is always depth of field. So I like a good, strong depth of field setting. And they're the two main things that I work. That's what I spend the majority of the time on with setting up any shot.
Yeah. Which photo mode so far do you think's kind of nailed depth of field the best? I know we said earlier that obviously Spider-Man's is good for creating stuff. It's not necessarily realistic, but what game do you feel has got depth of field right?
There's quite a few do it correctly, but I think this is one of the reasons I enjoyed Tsushima actually, because Sucker Punch's depth of field implementation is really good. It's very authentic, even to the point where if you pick an aperture, your actual resulting depth of field doesn't just depend on the aperture. It also depends on how far away the subject is and what length the lens is. And the system in Ghost of Tsushima responds to those. So because of that added realism, I think theirs is up there, definitely with the best.
Yeah, definitely a good choice. I can't wait to see the improvements in the sequel when they make it.
Oh yeah. Be interesting if they had lighting. That's the one thing it's missing.
Definitely. They had obviously changing the weather where you could change it a little bit, couldn't they? But yeah, it'd be good to have a lighting system in there as well. So, do you post edit your captures via external apps or software, or do you just use photo mode settings to create your picture and then just post as is or share as is?
No, I don't share as is. I always put them through Lightroom, partly because that's how I catalog anyway. But yeah, I put them through Lightroom, and I don't make extensive edits, I wouldn't say, but it's improvements. I always say that your picture, as you sit in a dark room looking at a 55 blazing bright 55-inch screen in the evening, you're going to see shadow details that quite simply don't come across on a phone in daylight. So when you take the shot, you think there's more there than there necessarily is. So the bare minimum you should do is check it on multiple devices and just adjust it. You might need a little bit of exposure adjustment, a bit of shadows lifting here, color tweak there. And there's no reason not to do that. You're not winning any prizes by refusing to do it.
Yeah, definitely not. And it's part of a natural photography process, isn't it? Anyway,
Definitely.
so
yeah, of course. I mean, I shoot my camera in RAW, so a RAW picture, a RAW photo looks terrible because it is literally just the pure information off the sensor. If you set your camera to JPEG, all that JPEG is the camera's interpretation of the RAW. It's decided, I think it should look like this. Well, why? Why should it look like that? Your camera, you're wrong. I'm sorry. So you shoot the RAW, and then you adjust the white balance and get everything, the shadows and the highlights as you want them. So why not do the same with the virtual photograph? You've got filters in the photo mode. So why, if you're saying you can't, I'm not saying you're saying, but people might suggest that you shouldn't edit because you shouldn't change the colors. But if there's filters there, then you're already changing the colors. And does that mean you go to another photo mode that doesn't have the features that the first one did? You shouldn't use them. Nah.
Exactly, and virtual photography, like any other art form, is down to interpretation and vision, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
definitely.
The thing I never do is alter the actual content. If there's a tree there, there's tree stays, or if there wasn't a tree there, I don't add one. There's nothing like that. But that's not to say there isn't a space for doing that. In the awards, I added the creative category to allow this more explorative, creative method of using these third-party tools to essentially make virtual photographs as assets for something else, as a digital art.
Exactly, it's more down to people's opinion, isn't it? There's no right or wrong. There's no judgment. It's whatever you want to do, do it. You express yourself as you want to express yourself.
Yep. And if
carry on.
if you're transparent about it, then so what?
Exactly. I completely agree. So we've heard we discussed what your kind of favorite photo mode is, but do you have a favorite game to capture, or favorite genre of game to capture?
I can tell you what I generally don't capture much. I've done more recently, but as a game to play, I'm all about racers, and I've always struggled to shoot racing games because I find less inspiration from cars. Not that I don't like cars, I love cars. But as pictures of cars, I always feel same, seeing it. I find it difficult to come up with something new. So for that reason, I think I generally prefer to shoot story-based games because it takes you through different, scenes, different opportunities, and that kind of thing. I guess I'll have to just go with my numbers and say the fact that I've shot more pictures in God of War than anything else, and that must have been my favorite. But it also means it's also because I've not got as much time to stick with the game these days. So
tell me about it. I mean, I'm the other way around. It takes me literally so long to finish a game because I only get to play for a couple of hours. I'm the other way completely. But yeah, like you said earlier, you've got to feel the game, and if you resonate with the game, you're going to take more pictures in it, aren't you?
Absolutely, and until something else takes you away from it, that's the current problem.
And that's the thing. There's so many good games coming out at the moment in quick succession that you capture a game, and oh, this game's coming out now. Oh, this game's coming out now.
I mean, October was insane, wasn't it? And even in September, I think there was a few, but you had so much together. There was like Assassin's Creed, The Crew Motorfest, Lords of the Fallen, even Hot Wheels. I can't even remember them all now. But it's Starfield, like massive games, all Spider-Man, same month. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I can't cover them all, no chance. And I'd be amazed if anybody could play them all, let alone shoot them all.
You're going to see every gamer crying over their wallets at the end of the month. Like, there's nothing left. Don't bring any more games.
Well, that's one of the advantages of getting review copies, isn't it?
Don't rub it in. Come on.
Save me a fortune.
You spend all your money. I've just got them coming in the post. But again, we touched on it earlier about when we were saying how you get some of the people on board with awards and bits and pieces. It's about who you speak to. Mm-hmm. People always ask questions: who do you get keys from? How do you get keys? That kind of thing. Well, you just got to speak to the right person at the right time. To be honest, there's no logic.
It depends on if you're asking for a creator copy, then you can go to the studios. You can go to the communications manager or influencer manager, that kind of title. Look for influencer managers is a good route. If you want advanced review copies, it's via publishers. Very rarely does a studio give anything out. The Sony studios do not give out review copies. PlayStation does, and that's the biggest mistake everybody makes. Indies will often use an independent PR agency, so you have to go through the PR route and through the publisher, not to the studio.
Yeah, and I think I've had a couple from Focus Entertainment, and again that was purely luck finding the right person. But yeah, they obviously publish the games. They don't make the game, and that's successful. And most recently, and with the Invincible, I just reached out. I got lucky. Asked the right person who could say yes,
Yeah.
and got a copy. I don't think there's an art to it, is there? It's just try your luck. No harm in
They
asking.
can only say no.
Exactly. So Evolution Pixels asked, what do you think is the best capture you've taken and why? And can you narrow that down? So that's a hard question.
It is. I don't think I've got one best capture because certain things have been captured for certain reasons. So, that a picture is the best one for that requirement because that's what it was for. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's objectively the best photograph. The one that I've always loved is the one that I use, should be still on the website, is the one of Ellie. It was a lone shot of Ellie in the Last of Us remaster when you're hunting the deer, and she's in the snow. And I managed to get her in a bit of an embankment with snow all around her, so there's nothing but white. And you might look at it and think that this is just a photoshopped her out of an image, but it's not. She was originally in a completely white image, and you could balance it just enough to get the exposure, so there was no detail in the snow whatsoever. And I loved that. I loved the isolation of that shot, which is why I've used it so often on the website. So that sticks in memory here.
Yeah, and obviously we just had the news about the Last of Us 2 remaster with photo mode enhancements.
Well, it's likely to be the changes from part 1. So part 2 will get the part 1 photo mode.
Yeah, so the addition of light sources and gaze is put into it. That's something we didn't have in part 1, wasn't it? On
not
console.
Originally, yeah, they added it with the PC launch, didn't they? Yeah.
If they haven't got that on console yet, have they?
I don't think so, but I haven't actually been in checked, so don't quote me.
Me neither. See, the shot of yours that always sticks in my mind, and I think it might have been one you used for London Games Week. And I think this might just be me completely imagining it, but I think it was a shot of a Formula racing car.
Oh, that's from Gran Turismo. Yeah.
Yes. That always sticks in my mind. When I think of your shots and when I saw that question, that was the first shot that stuck in my mind.
No, I do like that one, actually. Yeah, I'll go with that one as well. But again, it's for different purposes. Depends on what. If I'm asked to submit some work for X reason, that may be perfect for it. It may be completely wrong. So it's hard to say which is best. But yeah, I do like it. Yeah.
So, given your work with the TheFourthFocus, I'll get my words out now. Given your work on TheFourthFocus, do you find that you only really play games that have photo modes nowadays?
Largely, yeah. And actually, because the double-edged sword of being more successful at getting review copies and things is that then you've got more obligations to do things with those. So actually, I end up not even being able to play those games as long as I would like. I do. So, I still play Gran Turismo a lot. That's kind of like a bit of a downtime for me, and I don't use the photo mode in it very often. I just race. So I do still play certain things to switch off. But the vast majority is exclusively photo mode related.
Yeah, no. To be honest, I don't do all the work you do, but I find it's always got a photo mode in it just because I love taking photos in games.
Absolutely, it's just it's an extra engagement. It's more enjoyable to be in the game.
Exactly. So with the Game Awards just around the corner, we spoke about there's been a lot of good games come out, especially in October. What would your pick for Game of the Year 2023 be?
For Game of the Year or for Photo Mode of the Year?
Game of the Year.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm gonna have to say that. Yeah, I'm gonna say the Talos Principle, just because I'll always like games that stick in my memory most. Is always something that was unexpected or different. Now, Spider-Man 2 is great, but it's exactly what I expected from it. There's no surprise in terms of the experience. The Talos principle is just so engaging. The philosophy in it, all this, philosophizing about human nature and stuff. But I'm loving the puzzles, and it just kind of came to me out of nowhere. And yeah, I've and that's been my most enjoyed game this year. So that, yeah.
Definitely. And yeah, I think I voted on the Game Awards website, and I voted for Baldur's Gate 3, and then I changed my mind straight after.
All right.
Because I played Jasont. I think I'm going to pronounce this completely wrong, but I played Jasont, and it literally blew me away. Yeah. It's not big budget, it's not blockbuster. It's a simple game with literally an amazing climbing mechanic, which was really difficult to master to start off with, but it just hooked me. It hooked me in, and that overtook all of the other big games I've played for the rest of the year. Just the love, you could see the love that went into it. The game was brilliant, and yeah, the climbing mechanic alone literally just done that for me.
Yeah, I love discovery and stuff like that. It's the same reason why I always recommend Transistor. If anybody's not played Transistor, go and get Transistor. It's so good.
Not played it.
Go and get it. It's incredible. You get hooked in, but the art style is great, but the voiceover is fantastic right from the start. The music's fantastic, but it's like an isometric combat game. But the depth to the combat system is unbelievable. It's all like kind of computer program modules, and then it's the first game I ever immediately started the second playthrough because it lets you do more depth with the combat. And it's not too long, just go and play Transistor.
I'll have to give okay. I'll go and play Transistor. You've got to play Jasont.
Deal, yeah.
And then we'll report back and say what we thought about it. But this is what I like about some of the more indie games is I only played that because I saw shots posted by Luna on, and she played it I think a while ago when it was in early access, and obviously has PC tools, could take some amazing pictures. But I only played it because I saw those pictures, and glad I did. I think that a lot more indie studios are getting photo mode as well. Obviously, the Invincible that we've spoken about just now, that's got a really basic photo mode, but the environments in that game are amazing.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me, indies this year for Game of the Year. Sorry, Spider-Man, you're brilliant, but indies for me this year. So we've already touched on your interest in real-world photography, but what other interests or hobbies do you have apart from photography-based ones?
I mean, there's the obligatory ones of children and dog.
We can't talk about your dog because the pictures you put of your dog, literally, I love the pictures of your dog.
Yeah, she's not really a puppy anymore. She's quite big. But they're not hobbies, obviously. In terms of other interests, so I grew up being a gamer and got into photography, but I used to be massive on football. I had a season ticket at United for 26 years, but I've just lost that in recent times. So now it's F1. You might be surprised to hear that I love the technical aspect and all the the real technological side of F1 as well as the strategy and everything. So I can watch F1 all day.
That doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise me at all. So we're going to go a bit light-hearted now. It's time for my favourite question.
Yeah,
I love this question. What's Mik's go-to food? What could you always eat more of? What's your favourite food?
I think currently the answer to that has to be ramen noodles, and the actual cup noodle versions.
Oh yeah.
So I went to Japan in about 2017, and there's so many of them over there. I mean, obviously you've got fresh noodles all the time, and the food's amazing. But it was around when Final Fantasy 15 had been out, and Sam had been playing it, and in that they've got the cup noodle thing as one of the meals. So I found some, and I bought a few to bring home. I was like, wow, these are like because pot noodles are terrible, right? But the cup noodles are
rubbish.
But try the Nissin branded Nissin cup noodle. They're so good, and you can get them from Asda in the UK. Everyone's not in the UK.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like, it's not even just that I feel like I'm suffering to eat them, like, because it's lazy. I'd gladly have that every day.
Do you like cooking? Are you a cooker
No.
or you know?
far,
No.
far from it. I hate it. I under sufferance very much. Yeah.
So Evolution Pixels also asked, "What's your favourite takeaway?"
Chinese.
Chinese. Love a Chinese.
Yeah.
What's your go-to dish on a Chinese?
Oh, we usually get a bit of everything and share, but something like salt and pepper chicken wings and like crispy shredded beef is the most ordered thing, I think.
The salt and pepper chicken stuff is lovely, absolutely
Yeah,
lovely.
it is good.
I love a bit of sweet and sour chicken Hong Kong style. That's nice
Yeah.
to own. I could talk about food for ages. We've got tapas tonight. We're making our own tapas, so that'll be nice.
All right. I have no idea what we're on. Sam will tell me after.
you'll have one of your noodle guts.
Yeah, we've not gotten it. We've not in.
Oh dear. So back to virtual photography then. So given how virtual photography has come on in the past few years, where do you see VP in the next 5 years? And Aaron Young has also asked this similar sort of question. And he says, do you think in with that, where VP's going, do you think we can be considered as content creators? And do you think there'll be a significant improvement in PMs and studio engagement as VP moves forward?
I do think it will continue to improve. Yeah. I think it's needed actually right now. It's reached that point where you could perceive that there's no change because, social platforms are what they are, and they're not necessarily doing anything new for people who start it, especially people who come in fresh, like who haven't built up a large following. So where does it need to go in the next 5 years? I think is about the things people do with it. It needs to. I remember having a conversation with the guy from the ICP in New York, the International Center of Photography, and I was trying to sell the case of virtual photography to them. And he said, yeah, it's nice and all, but one picture doesn't mean anything. I was like, okay. He said, anybody can take a picture. Anybody can take a good picture. Anybody can take 3 or 4 good pictures. What we need for this to be a more appreciated art form is a purpose to larger bodies of work. And that's where things need to go. Not just about being the one who gets interaction from a studio or gets numbers. You need to do something with it as an art form for any reason, whatever inspires you, whatever thing you can come up with for an artistic purpose. There needs to be more of that, and there needs to be more permanence to it. Don't just rely on social posts because they're gone the week after.
Yeah, I mean we'll touch. So the next question is probably ties into that. Is so with various platforms are available to share virtual photography. It says what in your mind is the best place to share your work, but I suppose from that comment around it'll be gone in a week. Is there a best platform to share your work? Should you be on many? Should you be on one?
It depends on the person, doesn't it?
view?
Because it's easy to say, oh yeah, you should be on everything, but not everybody's got the time or even the mind share to commit to that. I tend to stick to one main platform because I'd rather do one thing well than lots of things badly. I don't know. Twitter as it was, now X, was definitely an advantageous place for me because of the interactions with publishers and studios. If you're purely after looking for sharing and getting numbers, then Instagram. I think Instagram's better for if you want pure number of likes and things, but you don't get the same level of interaction with the studios and the developers themselves, from personal accounts on the developers. That's something that's always rewarding, is when you see someone who worked on the game commenting on your work because they're impressed with it, or they love the way you've captured the thing they worked on, an environment artist, that kind of thing. So for that, I think for the interaction, I think X is still good, but there's no doubt that people are suffering the algorithms more and more now. There's some perception that you're disadvantaged if you don't pay for the premium. But I'm starting to put more effort towards YouTube than X, just because I think it's got more potential to continue to grow its audience. So I think if anyone wants, content that's going to maybe work more for them, then doing stuff, thinking about how to leverage YouTube is a good idea. TikTok as well, I suppose, if you want that really quick fire, often sort of dumbed down in a way, isn't it? The kind of content that works on TikTok, but the audience is there. So that could be an avenue.
Yeah. So, I mean, the next question is from Shinobi. So bear with me while I read it, because it's a long
wordy
one,
one.
but it's detailed. It's a wordy one, but it I like what he's getting at. I like how he's getting at it. So obviously we've just talked about which platforms best to share, and says Twitter and X/X's visibility isn't one of the statistics that PR agencies or studios or marketing departments are really interested in. Yeah, obviously, as you've mentioned and I've mentioned, we can occasionally get great contacts with insiders who go out of their way to provide review copies of games and such. But the social aspect, though still present, has changed these last couple of years as the community grows bigger and bigger with each new game releasing a PM. What's the real value of sharing your work on Twitter or X, in your opinion?
Probably what I was just saying. The potential for interactions with people who matter. Like, you could also argue, in fairness, that just that opportunity to meet and virtually meet, as it were, all of the people that we are with the same interest. This wouldn't be happening right now without this platform. So that's great. And the people I've, like Jack, who I met down in London, well, that only came about because we shared this platform, really, didn't it? So that's definitely a value. There's no disputing that. If you're passionate about something, you want to engage with other people who are passionate about it as well. The start of the question being about PR agencies and studios is kind of coming at it from that making this art form work for you type of angle, I think. And he's right that I don't think any actually class Twitter as a platform that they take numbers from and that you can get onto a creators program with. There was one, I forget which it was, but then they removed it, and the feedback, they actually put some information when they did it as you logged in, saying we've removed Twitter because of feedback from the studios that it wasn't producing the results they were interested in. So if you think a PR agency is all about, it's their obligation to create visibility for the game, for the brand, and a fast-moving social network doesn't necessarily do that in the same way that YouTube and Twitch do, because you've got long engagement times on a video platform. You've got incredibly short engagement times on a social platform.
Like you said just now, a post a week ago is lost, isn't it?
It's gone. Yeah, it never comes back. There's no like discoverability. Like you would get on a YouTube video might come back into popularity because the algorithm finds people who want to see that. A social post is gone. If it doesn't do well that day, it's not likely to do very much at all. But no matter, you could have got 10,000 interactions last week, but the next week nobody knows about it.
Exactly. And it's all like you're saying about quality, not quantity, and it's the same with numbers. I mean, if your social post got 10,000 likes, that's great, but what have you got out there? If you've got a shot with 10 likes and somebody who's made that game has liked it and commented, giving you really good feedback, to me that's more beneficial. Again, there's more value in that than getting 10,000 likes on a picture.
Yeah, I'd say there's more kind of emotional worth to that. It doesn't take much connection to press like, and the number of likes is usually a function of the algorithm. It's shown more, so it gets like more. It's not a matter of the quality. I wouldn't interpret the number of likes as to whether your picture was good or not by any stretch. But yeah, if you get an actual comment, that is the value. It's the personal level engagement with people who were interested enough to say something about your work, and that's because that's what you want it to do at the end of the day. You want it to actually influence, to affect people. You want them to know that they saw it and were taken back enough to say something about it.
Definitely, and we've heard that from, I think, speaking to Ruben about certain studios where his pictures have been shared internally because they've liked it so much. We talked about it with one of the lighting designers from Respawn, of how their internal team sees the virtual photography and shares it. That is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The fact that people, they're seeing it and we get that feedback, that's the ultimate compliment.
Yeah.
And some of those pictures have got minimal likes, but that doesn't matter. The people that made the game that you love, that you're snapping, love the stuff you're doing.
And you want it,
absolutely,
if it's
brilliant.
memorable with them as well. I mean, I keep saying to people at the minute, you never know what opportunities are around the corner. And, I've been offered stuff, as of other people, based on not a huge amount of work on a certain game. Not just because you've been really dedicated to one game all the time. Far from it. And if you do the right thing, that finds the right person and they're like, yes, that's what I wanted to see. You never know what opportunities there are, what's coming. So people should shoot different games. Don't be afraid to not play Spider-Man. Play something else. Everybody's shooting Spider-Man. So if you think about it, if someone's looking for a Spider-Man photographer, they're totally spoiled for choice. If someone's looking for a Talos Principle photographer, there's not as many. So if you can stand out in that, something may come around for you. You don't know.
Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all know it's a social platform, and there is lots of Spider-Man shots at the moment. And I had a conversation with the TPM team about this the other day. Is that Spider-Man's popular? Spider-Man shots are going to get a lot of likes. So if you're in it for likes, you're going to play the one game. And I personally found it hard to step away from shooting Spider-Man to go back to something else. Because I knew the effect it would have. And, it's not about the numbers, but anybody who says that sometimes they're not disheartened by it is probably lying. Because it is, if you've put your heart and soul into something and it doesn't get any traction, sometimes it can be frustrating. So, no, I agree with you. I think, if you only shoot what people want to see, what's the point in that?
Well,
there's no point.
This is what I was getting at before with the question about where should things go in the future. If you're only ever going to do stuff because it's popular, you're not going to advance the art form. You're only doing stuff that suits the industry in a way. You're providing that promotion, fine. But if everybody's doing it for just one game, you're actually diminishing the reach of the art form. And people should do it for more reasons than that. And you'll find that more things happen if you do.
Exactly. You mentioned that, touched on there about promotion. And we had a question from Uko saying, how much do you think VP actually have an impact on the sales of games at studios? Because obviously, a lot of people tout virtual photography as free marketing for studios and that kind of thing. How much of an impact do you think it really has?
Yeah, I'd say it depends on the game. I mean, if you take Spider-Man again, they've sold 5 million copies. How many of those are because of the photo mode? A tiny fraction, I should imagine. That game's going to sell no matter what. The publicity, the PR engine around it is huge. But some others, little indie games, they will have an appreciable number because of that increased visibility. There's definitely people who buy games because of a photo mode, but I don't think it's a sizable enough fraction to really attribute. However, the better way to look at it, it's not a sales factor, I don't think. That's not the reason for the feature. And yes, the publicity is an advantage, a massive one, because take Horizon. It's a linear. Well, it's not linear, but it's a story game. Usually those kind of single player story games have a period of interest, and then they go away because people play something else. Horizon stuck around because you constantly see pictures of Aloy and to a lesser extent the machines, and that keeps the game in consciousness more. Speaking to it was actually Antonella from 505, and she gave me the best definition of what they see as a photo mode. She's got a retention factor. It keeps people on that game for longer, and that makes them more invested in their game. They're more likely to buy some other content for the game. They're more likely to buy the sequel to that game, and they're going to keep producing content for it, which has a knock-on effect of getting other people involved in the game for longer. So that's the bigger factor, I think, more than just outright initial sales. It's the longevity.
Yeah. And we see that, like you said, with Horizon, Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, all those sorts of games. You know, some of these, I mean, when the original Horizon came on 2017, and we're in 2023 now, and you still see shots of it.
Yeah, well, it's had a sequel in the meantime, but it basically never went away.
Definitely not. So we've talked obviously about the work you do for TheFourthFocus and Photomode Unplugged, which are primarily focused on virtual photography and the VV community-based stuff. And we've talked about your methodical approach to bits and pieces and that kind of thing. But what do you get out of these projects on a personal level, and what do they mean to you?
I think I always had this desire. I saw the opportunity in that this has got massive potential, and this is a kind of a route into being involved with the game industry. My objective has never been to win social media races and to score numbers on there. It has been about that getting noticed and getting contacts and communications with people within the industry. And for me, that has worked quite well. I have to be very appreciative of some of the opportunities that have come my way because of it. So I think that is still the main driving factor, and the fact that I've built stuff to a point now where I would be very silly to throw it away. So what I get out of it still is still thinking what else there could be. If this is the state of things now, we look back to so I see Sarah's listening. So the trip to New York last year, thanks to Red Bull, it's like once in a lifetime stuff. To get to go to New York, an all expenses paid trip, without being boastful or anything, but that happened to quite a number of people who won that contest. I was fortunate enough to be part of organizing it, so I got there as well. But to go there and to do something insane, remember I mentioned F1, so we got to take pictures of the Red Bull F1 car next to Brooklyn Bridge. But I suggested it, like, to see that realization of an idea that I had on the call with them, and they went, "Yeah, I think we can make that happen." That's quite surreal, actually. So
it's massive, isn't it?
It's things like that. I accept that that's not going to be the reality for a lot of people, but you never know. And for me, it's all about the what if, the what's around the corner.
Exactly. You don't know what's around the corner, do you? So this is the part of the interview where we'd normally ask what your highlights from your journey are so far, but I'm going to flip it around to start off with. So what have you found the most challenging, or what's the most challenging thing you've done VP-wise?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, like I said before, is that switching of mindset because of my, I don't say conflict, but total polar opposite difference of my scientific work versus my artistic work, if you will. That's a genuine challenge that I do dislike. But in terms of one thing, actually, something we didn't mention earlier was one of the collaborations with the Manifold Garden one. I think you listed it, but I didn't say anything about it. And that was a really great opportunity to be the capture artist for the cover art for the limited edition vinyl soundtrack of the game. And that was tough because you've got this weight of responsibility. So, you know, Will Chire came and he says, you know, I love the way you shoot the game. I know when anybody in-house shoots a game, it looks like my game. When I see your work, it looks fresh and different, and that's what I want. Like, okay, you know, but what's your brief? You know, he's like, what do you want though? He said, as long as it's recognizably Manifold Garden and using the primary color palette, I don't care. Go with it. And in a way, that made it harder because, you know, like I said about not being that spontaneously creative, and I sort of prefer to have an objective and a method to get there. That left me with do what you want, and I don't know what to do. So I just sort of started creating stuff and sending him these options, and he's like, yeah, these are all good. If anything, there's too many, so pick one and focus on it. And that was hard, just to get something that you thought was what they wanted, because it was it's 1,000 prints. They were making 1,000 copies, so you think it's got to be right. It's a limited edition. Knowing that it was what he expected was daunting. Yeah.
And was that a short notice thing, or did you get some time?
No, got plenty of time for it. But
which is almost worse, isn't it? That you got extra time to potentially overthink.
Yeah, you're kind of mulling over it. And then they bring in their graphic designer, and they're like, well, we can work with this one because we've got to put logos on it and stuff, and we've got some space here. And you know, they start to gravitate towards one of the shots that you don't like as much. You're like, yeah, but I was hoping maybe this one. But it was a really enjoyable, but definitely a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we move on to your highlights, we've got a couple of questions left. So this is just a shout out to anybody listening live. If you do want to ask Mik a question live, put in your speak request now, and we'll come to you after the next couple of questions. So on to your highlights then. You could arguably be the busiest guy in VP. So out of everything you've created and accomplished along the way, what would you say is your crowning achievement? What are you most proud of?
I don't think I've had a crowning achievement. That because I'm always on about what's next. You know, I don't think you can ever go. There's no point saying that's it. That's the peak. If you think you've reached the peak, then you're probably gonna lose enthusiasm and stop. In terms of some of the best things I've been involved with, then that Red Bull stuff in New York was phenomenal. But that again, that Manifold Garden thing I was just talking about, because I've got one here. You know, he was nice enough to send me a copy, which I didn't expect. But to have that and think, wow, I like something that really comes into reality. That can be one of the downsides in research. You do stuff that can be obscure, it never sees the light of day. It's nice to have something that I created that has become a physical product that people have gone and bought and that they're proud to own. So
yeah, it's in their house. It's in their vinyl collection.
Yeah, and my name's on the back in the credits. So I think that's definitely up there. Yeah.
Perfect. So we always finish with the same question around advice and tips. So we've obviously touched on a few hints and tips about things in this interview. But if you could give one piece of lasting advice to any new or existing VPs out there, what would it be?
I think probably initially is just to play around and to learn how things work, because you don't compare yourself to what is already out there. Bear in mind that everyone's only going to show their best. So if you're definitely not going to start off at your own best. You're going to start off at your worst ability. And the only way to get better is to keep doing it. And virtual photography is a tremendous learning tool because the sheer convenience of it. You can try as many different things as you want with absolutely no penalty apart from time. You know, if you want to practice real world portrait photography, you need a subject who is willing to sit there for 4 hours while you experiment with lights, while you experiment with different angles and, you know, getting everything to your liking, they're going to have had enough. But in a game, they're never going to question it. You can spend as long as you want. So I think the starting out advice is just to practice, just to play around, and then look at what everyone else is doing. Get some inspiration. Don't necessarily copy it. I mean, one thing you can do actually is if you try and recreate something, you will start to learn what techniques are needed, and you start to learn what you can't do. So that can work, but I wouldn't suggest copying shots to post. But yeah, get inspiration from.
It's a good source of inspiration, isn't it? You know, the amount of artwork in the community from an inspiration source is massive, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you can find a purpose to it, then that'll give you even more inspiration. If you think of an idea and you might be inspired to come up with an idea by seeing other people's work, you think, I'd like to do a set that's focused on, you know, something silly like just hats or whatever. Any sort of narrative you can put on it, you'll end up with this sort of thread to the work. And that's something that I don't see often enough. That's not necessarily a beginner task. But if you already start thinking of that early, you'll end up with more meaningful bodies of work instead of just a few good shots.
Yeah, perfect. Great advice. Great advice. And I've just realised that I completely and utterly forgot to ask you Philip's question. And I'm going to ask you because I know you're going to have an opinion on it. And so Philip says, do you think a deal could be made with publishers that would allow us to sell our prints, or is that never going to happen? And what do you think the future for VPs making money off of our art is? I know this is quite a controversial view, question, topic.
I don't think it's controversial, but it is complicated.
Yeah.
So the fact of the matter is that you own the copyright, but you don't own the IP. As in the image is original, unless it's a cutscene, then you don't own anything because that's a copy. If you take an original shot, you do own the copyright. You are exclusively the one with the rights to generate copies of it. Obviously, if you submit it to contests, you agree to certain other terms, but you never own the IP, and that's the problem. Can an agreement be reached? Yes, definitely. Can anybody afford to do that? No, not really. So I've had the conversation with people in certain studios, which I won't mention who because of one of the things I'm going to say. But you know, they said that this is basically, you're talking 5 figures as a baseline for any sort of licensing. If you said, right, I want to take X game and I'm going to create a series of shots and sell it as a book, you've got to license the rights to do that, and you're into 5 figures before they're even interested. The flip side of that is that you need to be, if you decided to just start selling your pictures, you need to be hitting those kind of numbers before they're going to show interest. Yeah. So yes, they would ultimately come and shut down a business that was selling stuff without license. But as a small scale, if you were just selling a few prints, they're not going to come and stop you. One, it's bad kind of publicity because you're sharing stuff that's positively shedding light on their game, but it's not worth it for a small scale thing. So to an extent, you can get away with it. And this is, as I was literally told, that we're not going to come and shut you down, but they will at a certain point.
But sell some, but not too many.
There are, however, other ways that you can think about making money from it. Like you might not be able to sell the picture, but could you sell advice on how to get better pictures? That's a different thing altogether. You know, there's ways and means. There's advertising revenue. Again, YouTube's a good platform because you can reach a point to monetize it. X does that now. If you've got premium and you can get sufficient views, then you can start to monetize your posts on here. So that, I suppose, would be a future benefit of this platform. But it doesn't have to be as straightforward as can I sell the image, because you can sell your ability before you can sell the image.
Sound advice. So that's all the questions done. We're now at that point where we ask if anybody wants to ask a question live, and we have a 10-second awkward silence while people pluck up the courage to first speak the question. So, is there anybody listening live who would like to jump on and take this chance to ask Mik a question? It can be about anything. Keep it clean. Don't make us wait too long, because this bit's the little embarrassing part at the end. We've got Jack and Cynthia on, so I'd expect one of those.
I'm going to throw an extra one in because Jack, you said you were asking his, didn't you? Because he posted on the wrong thing. But Jack asked one on the podcast ages ago, and I didn't answer it. He said, "What? I can't remember exactly, but it was if you could make a game with a studio, which would it be and why?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know. None. I wouldn't make a game." But after that, it made me think. And actually, the game I would love to see made, which is at least my cop-out answer, is with Guerrilla. And I want to see Killzone made from the Hellgas perspective. Because
that'd be good.
Like, they're cast as the bad guys. But actually, if you think about the story, they're not. They're the most persecuted ones. I would love to see that flipped perspective of the Hellgas side of the Killzone series.
And the Killzone games are brilliant. I love those Killzone games.
Same.
We've got a request coming. We've got Bebop's coming on. I mean, sorry, Bianca. Bianca's coming on. Let me just approve your request, Bianca. Bianca, can you hear us?
I guess you can hear us.
Yes, good. Hopefully. Are you there, Bianca?
Yo, can you hear me?
Hello, yep.
Hey, how you doing?
Well, how's it going? Look, I just came at the very kind of like last few minutes, and this is probably already answered, but if you could answer for me, how'd you stumble upon VP?
Yeah, we went through that a bit, and it was really like briefly. It was I discovered Photomodes in games many years ago, such as the I forgot what it's called already. You know, the photography tour thing in Gran Turismo 4, but never did anything with it because why would you on PS2? Same on Wipeout HD on PS3. Dabbled around and just enjoyed the fact that you could, with a camera, go and look at the graphics in more detail. But I never thought of anything to do with it until PS4 days when the share button was there. I think the first picture I took from a game was in infamous First Light. And then, like many people, it was Horizon that really sparked the desire to start sharing pictures from it. But yeah, I discovered it purely through finding Photomodes, and it was that combination of my prior interests were gaming and photography, and all of a sudden you can do them at the same time. You're like, wow, perfect, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks, B. Thanks for jumping on. We've got Jack. Jack's requested. Is he going to ask a question or say something silly? Let's see which one it is. Okay, let's approve your request. Jack, are you there? Are you there, Jack?
Wow.
He's got himself on mute.
Ridiculous.
Bless him.
I mean, you'd think by now.
There we go.
Well done.
Hey, boss.
Nice. How's it going, Mik? You all right?
Hey.
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. It's not a question from me. It's a question from Raider Warrior. She asks, a lot of VPs believe that VP is not a form of art. What is your take on this?
Well, it is. It objectively is. It's quite simple. I think the reason that there's any misinterpretation is because you don't see it as much nowadays, but it's people thinking it's just a screenshot. And that's quite evidently not the case. You know, there's so much more to composing an original image. And I'm not saying it's not possible to just take a screenshot, and some people will take easy shots, but that doesn't diminish the level of involvement and the skill that's required to take much better shots. You know, anybody with any camera with their phone can go outside and take a bad photograph. It doesn't mean that photography is not an art form. It obviously is. Some people try to argue that you're not doing anything. It's all about the art is the game itself. And
Yeah, I
you,
think that's the most common argument, is that
well,
you didn't create the game itself, so therefore you can't.
no, but by the same stretch, people go and take pictures of buildings which they didn't build.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, you didn't create owls, but you might be a wildlife photographer. So what? You know, it's about interpretation. Interpretation is the key factor here. It's the artistic input is in how you see that and how you communicate it in an original image. Those images can affect people in ways that the game didn't, and that's the key differentiator. You know, that those images tell their own story. Sometimes you're mimicking the story of the game, sometimes you're telling a completely different story, and the fact that you can do that is what makes it an art form.
That's some pretty wise words, that is. Yeah, no, I like
Right.
that. Yeah, no, that was awesome.
Right.
That the last bit was perfect.
Thanks for jumping on, boss.
No worries. Yeah, cheers, guys. Thank you.
No
See you in a bit.
worries. Oh, we've got another request come in from Cynthia. Let's get Cynthia on. Cynthia, are you there? Sound like that Crunchy advert from years ago. Is there anybody there?
Adverts aren't as good as they used to be.
No, they're not. I'm going to sound really old saying that now. No, everyone here's going to be like, what's he on
Yeah.
about? Cynthia, are you there?
Hello, I'm here.
Hey.
Hi. Sorry if my voice sounds weird. We've all been sick again.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say it's because you're American.
And I'm American. I know.
Love it. Love it.
We get this behind the scenes
Go
at
drink your
TPM
tea.
all the time. It's the British versus the Americans. You know,
Let's be honest.
History
You guys are the
repeating.
ones who like chuck the flags up everywhere on the GIFs. So
Yeah.
We do what?
you guys put all the flags up on the GIFs. We just take the piss out of you.
I mean, if you can't make fun of your own country. Like, what else have you got
Exactly.
when it's like, anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But my question for Nick, oh my God, my brain is just fried. From Nick is obviously, like, as you've shown through all the collaborations and everything you've done, you're really, really good at networking. And that's something I've always really admired from afar. And I was wondering if you had just, I know you gave a few throughout the interview here and there, but like if you have anything off the top of your head to become like really good at like just reaching out like in the ways that you need to get a good response.
I think definitely getting through to the right person is key, but that's not something you can always control. So it's, I think from how you do it, it's really about putting yourself across in the right way. You've got to not be a pest, obviously, because some people will just think, I'm going to keep on at them, and if they don't reply straight away, I'm going to get angry and hassle them. That's completely the wrong way to do it. But at the same time, you can't be too polite and quiet. You know, if you've sent an email, don't be afraid to follow it up in the right way. Just to say, you know, your first email, if you can, a phone call is better. But very rarely do you get phone details. But your first email, you want to introduce yourself, give a very brief context of what it is you're talking about, but then get to the point. Because if you write pages and pages, and your request is at the end, the chances are they never read that far. They got life story, whatever. I'm busy. Go away. So give some context as to what it is you're talking about, but then get to the point as soon as you can, and leave it to that point where they know exactly what you want from them, and they can come back to you quickly. If it's really ambiguous or you're asking loads and loads of things all at once, even if they want to help, they might think, okay, I'll deal with that later, and then they forget. But inevitably they will forget, even if you ask a nice question. So just follow it up. Just say politely, hi, just following up, wondering if you've had any time to think about X thing yet. And that often works, you know, just as a reminder to get them to remember you. But I think it's just about how you conduct yourself as well. If you're polite and courteous, then expect them to be so. And if you're pushy and over expectant, then you're more likely to just be told no.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice. And I appreciate you answering it. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Mhm.
Well, Mick, that's it for the requests.
Good.
So all questions done. All that's left for me to say is thank you so much for jumping on. It means a lot that you've taken the time out of your day to jump on and have a chat with me now. It's been really informative. It's been great to have you.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It's been a long one, I guess, but
Well, we had a little joke. We had a little joke in the TPM chat that we thought our mix is going to be the longest one yet. And it is coming up for 2 hours. You
Yeah.
have broken the record.
Yeah, which is
But
weird.
you know, the good thing is, it's not waffle, is it? It's we've had a meaningful conversations about meaningful stuff. So it's been really good to speak to you. Obviously, anybody who can't listen will get this on YouTube and now Spotify tomorrow. But it's been great to have you. Great to hear all your answers. And we'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, Em.
Thanks a lot, Nick. Take
Bye,
care.
everyone.
Bye.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.